It's not an uncommon opinion that Kingdom Valley is one of the best stages in the Sonic series. Great music, fantastic visuals, and fun platforming obviously go a long way when making a good level for the blue blur.
Hey, not bad.
In my exhaustive look at P06 and the 06 vs P06 speedrun videos, I touched on how the Ruined Castle's first section is absolutely incredible, with its multiple meaningful pathways and a plethora of opportunities for shortcuts, but then I started to think about it more. Over my 2.5 years of attempting to make a career out of this craft, I've played and ranted in long form, short form, and video essay formats a wide variety of games and topics in the series, and been lucky enough to have the chance to hone in on what I think the single greatest and most important factor in creating a Sonic level is, and how the Valley achieves it the best. This doesn't mean that all the other levels in the franchise suck. In fact, I think many other stages share that key element to varying degrees, which are part of the reason why they're so great, but the Abandoned Kingdom's opening minutes does it so spectacularly. Of course, level design is only half the battle, as great character control is vital to the play experience as well, but maybe that's for another video. Anyway, let's dig into why Kingdom Valley Section 1 has the greatest level design in the Sonic franchise. We're gonna look at this level through the lens of both the original Sonic 06, which I'll generally refer to as retail from now on, and Project 06, not only to see how the fan remake changes things, but also to see how strong the stage design really is by dissecting it in the original game too. So, starting off, the blue guys dropped onto a tower, which has some of the highest detail and environmental elements I've ever seen in a Sonic game. Like, look at this opening shot. We've got grass, we've got ruins, we've got a torch, we've got an eagle flying overhead, trees? Oh man, I don't know if I can do this. I've never analyzed a level this critically before, but how could I make sure I do this section justice? You know what? Let me see if I can find some backup. Okay, Sonic level videos that are probably way too long. Oh my. Holy shit.
Yeah, hello?
Hey kid. Hey Ajakes.
Wow, Stelmo! Weird, you sound like my old boss. You're not 2 feet tall, are you?
No. Anyway, I need some help analyzing Kingdom Valley Section 1. Think you can lend me a hand?
Yeah, I literally just lost my job, so I'm pretty available. Wait a second, Section 1? Are you really asking me to lend a hand on a strip of level that lasts only a minute?
Yep.
And this is a full-length main channel video?
Yep.
Do I get paid?
Nope.
Now, I love my initial shots. Sonic games are fast, and we gotta communicate everything quickly. Gameplay essentials are at the ready, of course. A simple hallway with rings tells us where to go, with a waterfall pointing towards advantageous objects. But let's talk more game feel. Kingdom Valley Act 1 is your title screen, and it's the penultimate level too. Immediately when you fade in, you realize, oh, this is what they've been showing me. This is important. Sonic's first vocal line adds urgency to your objective, as with our eagle flying past. Right as you load in, there's movement. And hey, wind, ruins, castle, water, 4 immediate themes, which even duplicate themselves onto the song tracks of the stage, and our future sections.
It's no surprise either. This opening was the first thing we saw gameplay-wise way back at the Tokyo Game Show in 2005, and got a chance to play it along with the Mock Speed section at E3 2006, rest in peace. So it had to look impressive. Sonic Team was proud of it too. This place is everywhere. The title screen, the box art, my living room.
Oh my god. What's wrong?
Funnily enough, not the loading screen though. And Project 06 amplifies it by having 3 unique menu backgrounds just of this area. It's left quite an impact. And if you want, lead developer of P06 Chaos X actually made a smaller fan game too called Project TTS.
You rang?
Lead developer of P06 Chaos X actually made a smaller fan game called Project TGS, which is an attempt to recreate the 2005 demo we never got to play using Project 06's framework. So it's a fan project using another fan project's framework of a small amount of game footage that we only got to see and not play. Man, the Sonic rabbit hole runs deep. After immersing ourselves in the Kingdom Valley's environment thanks to that initial shot, we can finally begin our adventure, as the ruined archway subtly pushes us forward into the bridge across the chasm, leading to a small group of enemies that are easily dispatched with the homing attack. Remember that this area was meant to be a tutorial for folks having their first exposure to the game. Now, shockingly, the camera doesn't guide us toward the bridge on the left, so you can freely stand on the right side of the platform if you want, which gives you a nice preview of things to come. Soon, my love. I found that usually the enemies on the left side of the formation are the last to die in both games, causing the camera and the player to naturally be goated that way, so that works just as well. Plus, when you're crossing the first bridge, you can see that there's another bridge to the left too, so you kind of know that that's where you're gonna go next. If that fails, you may just home in on one of the side rails anyway while mashing the homing attack, which was a new feature that retail brought along at the time. Now we begin our descent onto the curvy bridge. This part's a small showcase of Sonic's moves. You can use the light dash, grind on rails, or let the automation take you and see some cool camera shots as you wind down the path.
And Might I add that you are using these moves because the roadway is rotting away, thus instilling the abandoned nature of the kingdom. How about that?
After it, we land on a platform with a few more enemies, but this one has a cool detail. The way forward is actually obscured behind a wall here, and bonking the enemies will more than likely break it, showing how defeating them can change things in your surroundings, similar to the initial set of enemies likely breaking the firebox during that encounter. With the path revealed, we can homing attack the statue to summon the wind rail, which is still one of the coolest set pieces in a Sonic level even 20 years later, and continue to the next part of the section.
Another nice aesthetic addition are these parallel pillars. Of course, they usher you into the next section, but they again suggest what Kingdom Valley used to be. The arches on the pillars can be seen as supports, holding up yet another roadway. This lets us visualize the large columns we keep running on as underpinnings for some sort of grand entryway that led into the kingdom, which I think is neat.
The tutorial zone here is pretty nice. Sets up everything we need to know about controlling Sonic at a basic level, shows us some cool visuals, and hints at some deeper mechanics present throughout the 06s as well. It does have hangups though. The opening section is kinda slow, and it's mostly automation. But Sonic Team knew this, and created one of my favorite things in video games, an in-world tutorial skip.
The initial part of the section guides you to the left, but if you take the time to look right, you can see the final platform that summons the wind rail not that far away from where we're standing now. But how do we make it there? Stelmo, help me, please!
Well, Adam, here's the secret, the eagle.
Oh.
What seems to be a background element is actually our ticket to skip this section entirely. A first-time player would only find out you can grab onto them when they leave this section, but they are also homing attack targets, and grabbing this one will send you to a homing attack chain of item boxes that take you to the platform with the wind rail. Instead of just pressing the start button and the screen fading to black and fading back in at the proper start of the level, they went out of their way to create an alternate route that fit almost naturally into its aesthetic. Obviously, floating item boxes don't give Ruined Castle vibes, but you suspend your disbelief a little bit when you're playing a Sonic game, you know, fast blue hedgehog and all.
And the coolest thing, the initial shot and camera work of the opening conceals the item boxes perfectly. You have no idea they're there.
You know, I feel that P06 fumbles the bag on this route just a tad here, because the homing reticle was added to the game, which means jumping now shows that the eagle can be targeted, which kind of ruins the surprise a little. It makes up for it though by changing the second decorative eagle at the end of the homing chain to actually take you to a higher path in the next section, and collect an upgrade if you haven't done so already. Ah, you got me again, Chaos. Obviously, the cursor's a huge benefit to the game overall, just not the best in this one specific instance. You can turn it off if you want, but I believe it defaults to on. I don't know, I've played way too much P06 at this point. If you don't like the eagle route, both Retail and P06 Sonic can make the jump from the initial platform down to the other one as well, adding another, more autonomous way to skip it. That's a big benefit of the 3D nature of this game, being able to create a lot of level design in a small space so things like this are possible. Is this foreshadowing? I don't know. And that's just the first 15 to 30 seconds of gameplay. So let's hop on the wind rail, or eagle, and head into the real meat of this section. This part of the stage is the best example in the whole series of utilizing the depth given by its third dimension. No longer are we limited to having alternate paths either just be above or below each other, but also beside each other. Now, instead of just picking the best path to take through the stage, we're able to interweave multiple different paths together. All the time in the TV shows and the movies, we see Sonic use a bunch of different environmental elements to go as quickly as possible, but it's not emulated in the games nearly the same way as it is there. Obviously, because that's really hard to do, but this is as close as we've gotten. There are so many individual paths confined in such a narrow space of the valley, and you can use the ropes, which in of themselves have a mechanic to get higher and higher bounces, to reach those higher paths. From the initial one, you can simply go forward, or bounce higher on it to go where the eagle lands us, or homing attack the enemy to drop a bridge which unlocks a light dash path or homing attack chain. What the hell? There's so much in such a small space. And having a set piece that permanently changes how you navigate the level, where else is that in Sonic?
The geometry of the section also assists with the gameplay, not through the physical movement, but through the camera. As Stelmo said, depth of the 3D environment helps us piece together our path. But section 1 is also very narrow, which means you just need to crane your camera down and up to catch hints of other routes. It's not a total thumbstick swinger like White Acropolis. Kingdom Valley lets you explore while still keeping your vision linear, which again enhances your urgency. You'd lose that expediency to find Elise if suddenly you can go left and right into the walls. But no, the space is tight, and the camera always wants you to look forward.
And specifically, that forward path diverges yet again by taking either the spring or an eagle. This place is jam-packed with routes, and so many choices on how to link them all together. The busyness of this part of the stage is what makes it feel like an environment that already exists that Sonic is running through, rather than a track that's laid out for him. This is what I believe folks are talking about when they say how much they like 06's level design. While not to the extent of the Ruined Castle, stages like Wave Ocean, White Acropolis, Crisis City, and the second section of Sonic's Tropical Jungle all share this philosophy.
Ah yes, and these are some of my favorite Sonic levels. Of course, we gotta give it up for the casino parks and digital circuits of the world, but Sonic Team is also very effective at reducing track elements and bringing out more of the setting to sell you the story. You don't get too many bright red springs and obvious item boxes in this early canyon. Most are tucked away from you and require some camera turning. Commitment to the world keeps the objective and urgency alive. Sonic is running out of time, literally, and the more we believe the setting, the more we feel that urgency.
This type of design and linking together of routes incentivizes replayability, which to this day is still what these games are about. There's so many decisions to make here, and it's so rewarding to see the route play out in either game. Checking off another aspect of Kingdom Valley Section 1 that leads into my central idea for the most important part of creating Sonic levels. And specifically for retail, the section is so condensed that the slower speed here isn't really an issue, and it also gives the player time to soak in all that atmospheric goodness that Ajakes has been talking about. This leads into a greater topic about Sonic levels, their divergent/convergent methods. Using Sonic 2 as a starting point, we can see that here Sonic Team wanted the routes in the levels to be distinct basically from start to finish. Aquatic Ruin Act 2 is a great example of this. Looking at the level map, there are 3 paths, top, middle, and bottom, that rarely intersect until the end of the level. Obviously with that classic design of the top path being the most difficult and the fastest, with the bottom being slow but easier. In a way, I guess. Then, with Sonic 3 onward, the series' further emphasis on story and set pieces causes them to start converging sometimes multiple times a stage so that the player can see the set piece or cutscene that plays out. It's gotten to the point where what used to be distinct pathways have turned into small detours before being thrusted back onto the main path. Stages like Windmill Isle 2 and Space Colony Arc are great examples of this. And, to be clear, it's not to say that these levels are bad. Both of the ones I just mentioned I actually like quite a bit. They're just missing out on that special sauce, that key factor that Kingdom Valley does so well. Small detours absolutely have their place in levels, especially for hiding goodies or a brief shortcut. Not everything needs to be a major path, it's just a tad lame when they're the extent of the stage's multiple routes. How to improve? Well, it's not easy, but creating routes that bypass the set pieces to reward good play and or a keen eye like the eagle skip from the tutorial section would be a good start. The main issue is that these things, while cool in some cases, limit the decision making on the player's part when they have to go through required sections no matter what, going against that core aspect I've been hinting at. And while I'm on this general level tangent, I've been seeing more recently the sentiment of why is the level even there if you can just fly over it, and I wanted to address this with 2 reasons, because they apply to Kingdom Valley as well. A, flying over the stage is one way to reward high skill play. Most of this stuff folks are not going to be doing on their first or even second run through of a Sonic game, unless it's spin dashing in Frontiers, which even then is a hefty unlockable. But with how the internet works, when a person posts a clip of them doing something like this, folks who have never played the game before I feel just assume that this stuff happens right out of the gate, which is just not true. I find it to be similar to the idea of hopping into Sonic 2 for the first time, using the Supersonic cheat, then playing the whole game with him and going, well, that was easy. Like, that's missing the point. And B, the level design you don't go through is just as important as the level design you do go through. It wouldn't be nearly as cool to take the top routes in a Sonic game if you didn't know what you were avoiding. Especially in Kingdom Valley with the camera naturally pitched down, it's awesome to stick to the top route and look at what you're skipping and going, oh yeah, glad I'm not going through that. It's a great feeling. These paths, no matter how much they're taken, fill out the level, adding to what I talked about earlier with stages like Kingdom Valley being more of an environment that Sonic runs through rather than being built for him. Where I do agree with this sentiment in a way is that the top routes in Sonic have become less difficult and more automated. It can be hard to get to the top route, usually it's a test of your reflexes, but once you're on it, it's either a homing attack chain or a set of dash rings over the level below. I would love to see an attempt again to not only make the high roads tough to get to, but also tough to stay on. Woo! All right, let's head to the next part of the stage and probably wake up Ajakes. I think he slept through that whole tangent.
What? Huh?
The condensedness of the routes thins out a bit here, leading to 2 major paths. We'll be coming up to the right path first, a wall running section that echoes the classic design super hard.
If you fall off, you're back onto the initial bottom path at the start of the section. But even then, climbing back up is always an option, and it's never a surprise. One helpful indicator is simply the length of the pillars in this valley. With 06's free camera movement, you're probably craning up to see where where these columns go, which helps you catch things like the eagles or rope springs. I'm telling you, the narrow space is doing so much for expediency here. It always keeps you moving.
Then there's a middle path that takes us to the left side, which we'll save for later. And finally, a secret top route that's hinted at through a voice line, which leads us to a cave. While the cave itself is more of a set piece, it's still an awesome secret that takes you right to the end of the left route, or with the well-placed jump, just straight up to the end of the stage. Or in PO6, you can blue gem off the cave wall to get a huge burst of speed into the air, but that's just the speedrunner in me.
And hey, remember when I whined about not going in the walls? Well, even when Kingdom Valley does this, it still points us forward and links us to another route. Even with the illusion of departing the main path, you are still progressing.
And the left side of the wall run echoes the bottom, middle, and top routes as well. An amazing nod to the classics while still being in 3D.
And when we get to our final area, the environment tells us two things. One, the wall on our left finally opens up, and we get the hint that the kingdom of Kingdom Valley stretches much farther than we expect, a feeling replicated later on during the spire bounces in the castle. Second is that we get this massive stone wall. You traversed them previously, but this one is like a solid object, straight in front of you. It's intimidating. It signals your transition into the next section. We ran on its boundaries before, but now we're going right inside. Oh shit.
And with that, we either run up the side of a wall, bounce on ropes, or ride the wind to reach the final platform, grab the talons of an eagle, and head into the next part of the stage. Oh man, this section near perfectly encapsulates the one core element of great Sonic level design, the feeling of freedom. To reiterate it once more, this level doesn't feel like a level. It feels like an environment that was already established, and after suspending some disbelief with a few objects, gives the player the freedom to find a fun way to move through that environment. The discovery of my route is just as important as actually using it, dissecting the stage and using the freedom it gives me to traverse it. Light set pieces that aid the gameplay, light automation, great visuals in both games, and fantastic music are all what wrap this package with a nice little bow. And hey, doesn't that philosophy of freedom go hand in hand with our carefree hedgehog that moves like the wind? I think so. Is it easy to create a Sonic level like this, let alone for a whole game or a different gameplay style like the boost? Fuck no, are you kidding me? But I would rather have a smaller pool of levels created like this one over a bunch of them where I just hold forward to win.
Kingdom Valley Section 1 also effectively communicates the urgency of the story. The area appears linear to always push us forward, but in that lovely Sonic way, it's well layered and interconnected, which allows you to make your own journey, to say the least. The roadway is collapsed, the bridges are crumbling, which mirrors the destruction we'll fly by later on. You get a waterfall right at the start, and the appearance of the lake at the end. Again, both foreshadow your later segments, but my favorite aspect is that there is this gray, troubling haze covering the vibe of this entire section. It's a beautiful canyon when you get up close and allow the objects to pop in, but there is still this ominous later level energy which follows your progression, all finally hammering home how important your journey is. Urgency and uncertainty, all tightly packed into the first section of Kingdom Valley.
Huge thanks to Ajakes for joining me on this project. It was a blast working with him, and I had to give him the last word because that conclusion was just beautiful.
No problem, Stelmo. I enjoyed being here. The script told me to say this. What the hell? Anyways, it's about getting paid. You know, I feel like I put in a lot of work, and I think the writing that I put in is actually pretty effective.
Hey, don't worry about it, friend. I'll see you for the next collab. Anyway, shout out to the folks who subscribe on Twitch for supporting what I do. I appreciate it as always. And thanks to Chaos X for the awesome render used for the thumbnail of this video. Finally, thanks to you so much for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.
I don't think anyone's told him that yet, but there are town missions in the game. They're awful. You'll love them. Oh, also, the town missions are connected to a town hub. That needs to be in there too. I can't believe he missed all this. How did he not even know? Someone should have told him. That's what I'm doing now. It's okay. We got it covered. But just make sure you let him know. Oh, boss fights too. I'm sure that's coming. I don't really pay attention to this stuff. Hey, by the way, can he do a render for me too? I don't want to pay him though, if that's all right.